outlet for me to paint my expressions on. It's kind of been a relief for me. For a while, it was just a hobby. I didn't really have any art ambitions for a while. I just liked doing it. I enjoy creating. It creates conversation because some things they'll look at and they'll be like, oh, what were you thinking when you painted this?
My name is Leah. I'm 18. I live in Oxford, Mississippi, and I graduated from South Carolina. I would call it female illusionist. Who knows, maybe I could rule over RuPaul one day. My name is Aubrey Stone. Well, it's now Santangelo because basically my drag family that I was in, I didn't really agree with. I like to speak my mind and be heard. I'm 23. I am a performer at Club Spectrum in Drew's Place, where I'm the prom queen.
You doing all right today? Good. Okay. I'm a native Memphian. I'm an Episcopal priest, retired. Most recently, after I came back with my doctorate from General Theological Seminary in New York, I was at St. George's, Germantown as associate. Then I became the priest in charge at St. Stephen's Church, Blytheville. I've retired. I'm 66 years old. I do supply work. I'm a spiritual director. And I love theater. It's feeling like you're in the wrong body and that things are being expected of you that should not be.
It means that you have a chance to be yourself no matter what reality throws at you. To me, it takes someone that's really brave and strong. Basically, to me, it's being the person that you really are and not who everyone wants you to be because of what they see. Because most times what they see is not what you see inside you.
I did not identify with my assigned birth, with what someone else said I was at birth and put on, my birth certificate and basically said, this is what your life is going to be like.
For me, the social part of it is as bad as the physical. And I've felt much better since I've been a woman full time. I've known I was trans for a long time, but didn't have the courage to do anything about it for obviously a long time.
I think I started to figure out that I was trans around age 4, but I didn't really know what trans was, and I didn't know that there was a name for anything that I was feeling.
I had a feeling with dolls. I grew up playing with Barbies. I mean, I was always attracted to feminine stuff.
I learned what trans was about age 15, and I realized that there was a way for me to not have to live as a male.
2 years ago was when I found out what trans was, but I took those 2 years and kept it to myself and did research of what I had to do, what I had to go through and all that stuff.
At that time, there was very little information and a lot less information than there is now. So I didn't know about hormones or name changes, because these were things that whenever I tried to ask questions about, I was told, just don't talk about that stuff, that's not good.
I go by trans female, and hopefully real soon I'll be fully female.
Well, when I began transitioning, I had to come to peace with the fact that I would never look like I wanted to look, or be able to get back all that I had missed. Growing up as a young lady and all of that.
I would have loved to have been able to do this growing up.
But, nobody ever looks the way they want to look. That's a common experience among women. It's just, you have to adjust.
About age 6, maybe, I started getting really depressed. I went through a really long phase of depression from about age 6 to 17, maybe 18.
After I joined the Episcopal Church, I got depressed every Lent, really severely depressed. These thoughts wouldn't leave my mind. They got worse and worse. Then when I was 63, it got really bad again, and I knew I was going to have to do something about it. I had tried back when I was 30, but I got a psychiatrist here who didn't know anything about the condition.
We had people come to us and say, I'm going to see a counselor, but they're trying to fix me. And that is code for people, like therapists telling their clients that the reason you have trouble is because you're gay, lesbian, transgender. That's your problem. When in fact, what their real problems were they might be depressed, or they're fighting with their partner, or they're having addiction issues, whatever, just like normal clients.
He thought all transsexuals were simply gay men who couldn't face being gay because of their religion. So I know what psychiatric abuse is all about. He took a lot of money and prescribed a lot of pills, but he's the only one that profited from it.
And so we started this referral list, a group of therapists in the area that we've had for about 6 years now. We have a lot of transgender clients that call to use that service, and we try to make sure that we match them up with the people that are going to be most respectful, the people that have the most experience working with trans clients. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback about how nice it is to go somewhere where they don't have to pretend and they don't have to be dishonest about who they are when they're working through issues. I think we've had, at this point, 360-something people go through that referral service, so it's pretty cool.
But this last time I found a gender therapist in St. Louis, and I still go to her. She has 20 years experience with transsexuals, and after 3 months of therapy, we decided that I was a woman with a physical problem and not a man with a mental problem. So I began taking hormones. That doctor's in St. Louis too.
Actually, I have a great psychologist, and he helps me through every situation and helps me understand more about how I'm going about life and what I need to do.
Eventually I ended up being able to get my name changed, started on hormone therapy, and started being able to be myself, the self that I should be.
And I've lived for the last 2.5 years as a woman, and they've been the best 2.5 years of my life, and Lent is just another season in the church year. My wife, it was hard for her at first.
It's difficult, I think, for older people as well, because a lot of them have already established families, and they really do run the risk of losing all of that by choosing to live as they really are, being honest about who they are, and that's a big sacrifice, and some of them choose not to make that, and that's a struggle in and of itself, to know that you are living not authentically, but having to do that because the risk is too great.
But she's my biggest supporter. She helps with picking my clothes and things like that. We go shopping together.
My family was, in the beginning, not very supportive.
My mother was coming up on her 95th birthday, and Martha and I told her together, and she was rather upset by it.
There was a gap of about 5 years when I really didn't have much connection with any of my family.
My family, me and my dad haven't really talked or seen each other in 2.5 years. That's because he has such a closed mind on things.
She was very much against it. And she was very discouraging. She said that I could come dressed as I wanted to her house, but she would not help me financially, except to see a therapist. So that was a negative experience.
My dad, when I told him, he's a drunk. I used to wear wigs when I first started transition because my hair was really short. And like one day I went over there and he was like, well, take that shit off your head. And I was like, no. And so I just kind of left. He was in no position to tell me what to do with my life. And he's never really been there, like as a father figure. And like, I love him to death, don't get me wrong. But I mean, he's had no position or no right to tell me what to do. But I mean, he accepted it. He's come around.
But she was all right then and as supportive as she knew how to be. Of course, someone of that age would not tend to understand really completely.
But my grandmother and my biological father, they came around first, I would say.
And my grandmother, she loves it. She cannot stay away from my drag. When she goes to bingo or the casino, she wears my wigs and my makeup, and she'll try to fit in my clothes. But that is a no-no.
I got close to my biological dad after I transitioned, because before, I mean, he was in my life, but we weren't very close. But after I transitioned, it's like it was really nice, because it was like I felt like just a little girl, and that felt really good to me.
So that was pretty hard. But the hardest person to come out to is always yourself.
That was a really difficult time because I was really alone. A lot of bad stuff happened to me during, that time. I was homeless for a few years around, my late teens, and I spent a while dealing with that and drifting from place to place.
They make up a large portion of the kids on the street. Actually, LGBT kids, even though we're only about 5 to 10% of the population, make up 40% of the homeless youth population. And so that tells me that there's a problem with the people running the services and the parents who kick their kids out. They're not finding safety. And so we have had a lot of trans kids that have come through.
It was like train hopping and stuff as opposed to kind of staying outside on the streets. I was going from like trains to shelters, buses, just anything I could to not be out, because I was dressing as a female then, and people were not reacting very kindly toward that.
We have a lot of young people that come to the center that are either on the street or they're couch surfing or they're sharing a space with 10 other people. And sometimes they can afford rent but not utilities, or rent but not food. People have to eat. The food pantry gets used every week. We've been doing that for a couple of years now. We have a group of churches in the area that will provide us with food. That's just an emergency fix, though.
It was a really, really hard time, just kind of wandering the streets like all day and, seeing, people in restaurants and stuff and, not being able to eat anything, or definitely I wouldn't say I didn't have goals or dreams, but just they didn't seem like something that was real at the time because, like I said, I was just, focused on trying to eat. During that time, though, I did meet some really wonderful people. This one guy worked at a restaurant. He got to know me, and on the nights that he worked, he would take the food that they had to throw away in the night. He would put it out behind the store so that I could come and get it. I love him, and I have no idea whatever happened to him, where he is now, but he really helped me during a difficult time. My girlfriend at the time, who was also trans, she and I stayed at the shelter together, and so sometimes that we would, if I got some food, I would share with her. She got some food, she would share with me. And so he really kind of helped, more than just me, by doing that. There was some problems in some of the shelters, but I stayed at a local church that opened, their doors to people that were homeless.
Our priority is to get them hooked up with people they already know, a family member or, the parent of a friend of theirs, or maybe a distant relative that they had forgotten about. We have a lot of conversation with them about, let's figure out what resources you're already aware of. If they can't find those, we try to find some temporary place for them to go, somebody with a spare bedroom or a guest house or something like that for a short period of time until they can get back on their feet. I think we've had 28 kids in the last 2.5 years that we've been able to find some temporary shelter for.
Trans women and men, trans people, have a really hard time, most of us, financially, finding jobs because we're facing, discrimination in the workplace. And
the trips to St. Louis and the doctors, it's costly, and it will be even more costly to complete the transition.
Some of the more trans-friendly cities tend to be some of the more expensive cities to live in, and it's just the same as having the actual SRS surgery. It's not that I wouldn't do it because I want to, and I would love to move to someplace, more trans-friendly.
I don't know that many people who have fully transitioned. The divide comes financially, those who can afford surgery and those who can't. And that's a problem. No insurance covers it. The cost of hormones and particularly surgery, you have to bear all the cost yourself. I hope that will change, as it has changed in most countries.
Getting the amount of money that we need to do some of, these things, like having SRS surgery, or for me, moving to a more trans-friendly city, it's just not feasible when you don't have a regular income.
Lately, it's been hard trying to find a job, though. But since my drag career, I've been getting job offers left and right from people who've seen me and my work, and who wants me to work in their restaurant or work as a host at their nightclub or whatever. It's been 4 years, 4 glorious, blessed years of stuff that I didn't think I could do. Well, definitely being comfortable with yourself, being comfortable to go out there and entertain in front of a big crowd of people, being comfortable with people that's gonna stand there and stare at you at times.
She's absolutely incredible individual. I've seen her transform as far as her performances, and she's just absolutely a beautiful person. She's so personable and really makes a point to get out and get to know the people in the audience. So I do think that they come back a lot just to be around her. Everybody's got to have a place to go, and a lot of the performers, you know, with the closing of so many bars, really didn't have a place that they could call home. It's a smaller segment of our population, you know, as a gay community, but a very important part. A lot of people don't understand the difference between someone who's trans and a drag queen or a cross-dresser, and really we get all three of those. So, you know, and when you meet somebody who's trans, it's a different experience. You know, when you're talking to a drag queen, you're talking to a guy in a dress. It's very clear they don't try to be anything other than a guy in a dress. But when you're talking to somebody who is trans, I mean, most of the people that I know, which there are several who come in here regularly, I mean, I don't ever think about that I'm talking to a guy or I'm talking to a girl. I mean, you feel that they truly are a different sex than what their body may represent.
When you keep going out there week after week, showing them what you have, it's like respect. They grow and they grow, and then all of a sudden you become fan favorite and they like you too. So it's like extraordinary to me. During the day, I attend Plaza Beauty School from 8:30 to 3, and that's a full-out day plan within itself. My cousin is a celebrity hairstyle guru, and she travels around doing celebrities' hair, doing the kids' hair. With my talent and my lessons, I really want to do that also, and at the same time use it to my advantage in my drag career, especially like dealing with school. The rules. It says prohibitively that girls have to look like girls, wear makeup, and that guys have to look like guys. No foundation, no eyeliner. It's cosmetology school. You would expect at least the boys or the trans will be included into the rules to let them be themselves. It's been in the rules for 55 years. And like they were telling me, they were just waiting on someone to come along and say something about the rules. We had a meeting about it, and I'm pretty much going to put my foot out there and make a difference on it.
Well, of course, we can't change our birth certificate. That's in the Constitution. We'd have to get a huge majority to change that. And I think it will eventually happen, but we'll be the last state to do anything about it.
That gender marker really opens the door for somebody to be discriminatory or, harass you or just, anything. All of my other documentation says female. So sometimes when I'm applying for jobs or things, that comes up because people ask about it, and essentially in a way that kind of puts me out, even if I, trying not to be out.
I do know that the State Department has made it a lot easier for transgender individuals to change their passport. So I know a lot of people in the community have worked through that method, which is still a very valid piece of identification that people can present.
My Social Security just recently got changed, and I was really excited about that. Changed that to female. My passport will reflect female when I receive it.
Some of them have even gotten the gender marker changed, which has been it's quite an achievement. I've had several people come in and show it to me and be excited and say, "Look what I did today! I didn't think this would happen." And I know that's arduous, but getting it done is such a great feat. It's really kind of fun to watch.
What we have to watch is the discriminatory bills that come before the legislature.
One of the big challenges, I guess, that people would not think about on a daily basis is just, going to the bathroom.
A representative from Chattanooga had a bathroom bill that said you have to use the bathroom that corresponded to the gender marker on your birth certificate. That's stupid. I mean, we go in the restroom that matches how we're presenting. We sit down in the stall, lock the door, and we don't bother anybody.
You just go to the bathroom if you have to go, but, it's me. I kind of have to think about so many things. I have to think about the dangers of, going to the bathroom. Somebody going to harass me.
If such a bill ever passed, I think what we ought to do is obey the law and do it in Chattanooga, where the guy's district is. And he would see with the bearded guys going into the women's restroom with a copy of the law and their birth certificate, and we're going in the guys' room, fixing our makeup in the mirror and all that, and see how long he stays in office.
In December, I came out as trans, and in the dress code it said you had to dress to your gender, meaning if you was male you had to dress male, and if you was female you had to dress female. But that was unconstitutional, and I had emailed my principal explaining to him what was going on, that I was trans, and he had no idea what trans was or anything. He had no idea what I was wanting to do when I said I wanted to present as female at school. It felt like I had to educate him like I have to educate everybody else how to tell I'm trans. The first thing he showed me was the dress code. And he was like, well, I'll have to talk to the school and figure out what we can do about it. And that same day we went home and we contacted the ACLU, and we got a lawyer and we had to negotiate and all that. And it took a while. It took a couple weeks. So they agreed to everything except for the bathroom issue. I had to use a single bathroom that was in the office. I used to miss a lot of school days and stuff, but when I started my transition, I was at school just about every day. And I was more open and talking to more people. So it's kind of like going to high school all over again, how I kind of opened up. So I more opened up then. But, I mean, after that first week, everything was fine. I mean, the first week was hard, but other than that, after that, everything went back to normal.
Being such a small minority of a minority, there aren't a whole lot of spokespeople, and there aren't a whole lot of people who are engaging in dialogue. And that's one of the things that we've done several times here at the center is have forums where people can come and ask questions and say, I don't really understand what transgender is. Can you tell me what that means? What's your life like? And so we've done that several times at the center, and they've actually been our most well-attended sessions. The room has been full every time so that people can find some common ground. The issues aren't exactly the same, but it's all a common struggle. And that's kind of what I focus on here at the center, is that the struggle is the same.
The positive response I've had from clergy in both dioceses have helped me to come out and be more active in the political arena. I'm a member of the Tennessee Transgender Political Coalition, and which is part of a national organization. And I'm very interested in TEP, although I've not officially joined TEP.
Tennessee Equality Project has worked with the police academy, and they've done that a couple of times now, but also with the prison system. They've worked with some other agencies. They have a package that they've already developed that's a day-long training, but that can also be broken up into modules. It's not just about learning terminology, it's about being respectful of people as human beings. And so, there have been incidents that we've heard about where people get pulled over and their appearance doesn't match their ID. That's already a red flag.
Actually, I have been pulled over once while transition, and I don't know if he didn't know that I was trans and stuff, but he said ma'am and all that. Because, I had girl clothes on and I had makeup on and I was presenting as female. So I gave him my social security number to run, because, I had no tickets or anything like that. So he went and wrote my social security number and ran that on my birthday. And he came back and he was like, well, everything matched, but it says you're male. Can you get out of the car?
And a respectful police officer might investigate and find out if this is a transgender individual and make assessment based on that, rather than just making assumptions based on bias or some discrimination.
And I basically told him I was trans, and he was like, okay, well, I mean, he let me go with a warning and stuff, so I mean, I don't think he really wanted to go through and I have to do all that paperwork, so he just kind of let me go.
So I've sat in on several of those meetings with Tony Armstrong and the police administration, and just talking about what transgender people face on the street every day.
Then again, that was just one cop. I might not always get that lucky and have nice people like that, because I mean, there still are nice people out there in the world. And
they're very open to that too. They want to treat their people in custody with respect as well, and so we're trying to help them do that.
The non-discrimination bill, as it was proposed first, included only gay people. It didn't include transgender, and TEP decided they wouldn't support it until it did. I appreciated that. The assumption that it's a mental illness that particularly bothers the legislature in Tennessee. I've been up there and I've talked to some of them, and I think I've put a human face on the condition, which is what I'm trying to do. I spoke to the city council over the non-discrimination bill. I had my clericals on then. I think I made a difference. And generally, the legislators I've talked to have been respectful and nice, but you can see in their eyes that they're not going to change their vote. So it's going to take time. But I think hell will freeze over before the Tennessee legislature gives us document rights. So, we need to keep working for them. We need to keep doing something about them. But with the legislature stacked the way it is, we just have to get out and vote.
Yes, Memphis's history with trans violence, I did not know before I came to Memphis. It makes things very difficult. And I've had some negative experiences with violence here myself.
Especially some of the people in our community that have talked about, being on a city bus and having people throw things at them and call them names and not being supported by the bus driver, or being beaten or being harassed or being fired or not hired.
I had to take the bus to school one day. This is kind of when I was sort of drifting around couch surfing, and I was going to community college, and I had to ride the bus to school. And on the bus, while I was riding it, people started throwing things like paper and cups and all sorts of things, and the bus driver and the people were doing it, they were, making comments and just laughing about it. It was a really bad experience, and I hated riding the bus. On the bus or in big social settings, I feel anxiety. I guess even when I don't have to, I always feel like I need to watch out and be careful because I don't know. Do I feel safe in most public settings in Memphis? That's a bit hard. I guess most public settings, I would say no.
Particularly when I moved back to the city, because someone had just been killed when I was transitioning. Of course, there was that lady in Forest City, too, which is still the Mid-South area. So it was with some trepidation, but I've really had no trouble. And my experiences with the police have all been positive and respectful.
I've definitely had conversation with the people in our community about, attacks and just other situations where they haven't been safe. Because I'm not transgender, I don't encounter that myself. All I know is what people tell me. And so the stories that I hear from people that I know, the friends of mine or at the center, have not been positive. And I think that's why we have this attempt to work with the police department and say, here are the issues that are going on. certainly with the Dewana Johnson case, it was all brought to light that not everyone in the police department treats people respectfully. And so the whole beating incident on camera in a police station shocked the whole nation. I would go to conventions around the country after that happened. Say I was from Memphis, and people would look at me and say, what's going on with this case? What's going on with the transgender community? And I would have to say to them, being a trans woman of color in Memphis is not safe.
I don't know why, but the African American women get targeted the most. Even if you're like the multiracial part, they also get targeted. They don't really care who you are, what you do, if you're just minding your business. There's always somebody that wants to go for you. The first event, I was coming home and 3 guys attacked me with guns and stole most of my stuff. And that left me feeling defenseless. I had a gash in my head, blood running down my face. And at the moment, all I felt was fear. Fear to leave the house, fear not to be able to live a normal life ever again. And my second event, I'm not too far from my house, and I'm walking. It's not nighttime, but it's like the afternoon leading into the evening. And 2 guys attack me from behind, take me in this dark alley and rape me. The cops took so long to get there. When they were there, they didn't even take it seriously. As they would discuss among themselves, I saw 2 of them laughing and snickering with each other. And to me, it was no laughing matter. So I think that's just a slap in the face, and they don't deserve their own jobs. With growing up, I had a very rough past. A lot of things in my past allow me to harden my skin more. Like I've been through getting robbed, raped, homeless, and being name called and stuff, so I'm pretty much used to it. Some places I don't feel safe, and I feel like I don't want to go unless I'm with a group of people. And some places I'm very safe. I'm safe at the community center, I'm safe at work, I'm safe at school and at home. I don't want to feel like I have to look over my shoulder every 5 seconds, like I have to be defenseless, like I need someone to defend me because I'm scared. And that made me who I am today, because I like to stand up for myself, I like to speak out, I like to defend myself. Every time I got knocked down, I took 10 steps forward and built myself up harder. I do a lot of volunteer work here in the community, especially Memphis Gay and Lesbian Community Center. I like to bring the smiles, make everyone laugh when they're having a bad day, make them feel like their day is worth something. Since I first started, even before drag, they have been there for me. Will Batts have been a father to me. It just opened my eyes, and over the years, I have grown from it. No matter what time it is, I will hightail my butt down to the center, do whatever volunteer work needs to be done, without hesitation, without attitude, without questioning. It's my passion. From the Gay Rights March to just being at every Cooper Young Festival, making things possible.
So the big thing that we provide is the social/support group that meets weekly. It's been meeting for about 6 years now. It used to be an independent group, but now it's a program of the center. And it's the only community-based group for transgender individuals that I know of for probably 250 miles in every direction. We have people that drive more than an hour to get here to that group, just to talk about what's going on with them and their struggles and triumphs and all those really cool things. So that's the big thing. And that meets every Monday night for 2 hours, and it's a really cool group.
A friend of mine met a member of the group at the YMCA, and she told me, and I decided to come, and it was good. And we did things outside the group, like groups of us would get together and go to the movies and shop and things like that, and that encouraged me to go full time probably sooner than I would have otherwise. And it was a really affirming experience, and I appreciate this center and will.
I got a whole lot of understanding from it, and it made me feel very warm and welcomed. I would recommend anyone who's transitioning to go.
It addresses all kinds of needs, and the group focuses on not just people who are in physical transition, but people who are just kind of finding out about themselves and have questions. And I know they have a lot of partners of transgender people that come to the group too, so they try to make it as broad as possible so that they're addressing every aspect of what it means to be transgender, whether that's when you're in the questioning stage or whether you've gone through the full gender reassignment surgery. And they try to make sure that they provide people with resources, connection to care, letting them know the medical facilities that are safe and welcoming and respectful, and kind of the whole aspect of living as a minority within a minority.
Well, when I went there for the first time, that was my first time ever being around other trans people, like face-to-face. I've talked to trans people online, and I've seen videos and stuff, but I never really got that kind of connection of being there with actual trans people. So it was good. It kind of gave me hope and stuff, like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one wanting to do this. So I kind of gained from it.
The sharing stories was a big thing for me. And, you know, I no longer felt like I was the Lone Ranger out there. But I do think that stealth is a bad strategy for both the individual and the community. If you're in deep stealth, you can't help anybody else who's going through what you went through. And that's an important thing for me to do, to let people know that they're not alone out there. Yeah, I think Leah's story is inspiring.
If I was to look back a year ago and think about doing anything like that, I would have never thought about it. I mean, I had no idea that I was going to go to school presenting as female. And when I did, I just felt more of myself, so I kind of enjoyed it more.
She's made it easier for all the students who come behind her.
Once the community started speaking out rather than just a few advocates, I think that changed the balance.
I just recently wrote a book kind of based on my experiences growing up as a transgender girl. I was not always vocal about being trans. I did kind of grow into the role because it's just something that I thought is important, and it became more and more important to me over time as I, went through challenges that I felt like needed to be tackled, they needed to be dealt with, they needed to be addressed.
It just brings a certain level of power to the argument. There's nothing that somebody else on the opposite side can do to invalidate that person's story. They can say, I don't agree with what you're trying to do, but they can't say you didn't experience this, or I don't think that happened to you. When you tell your own story for yourself rather than having somebody else do it who didn't experience it and won't ever experience it, I think that just lends credence to the whole cause. And so it's really important for people to be able to tell their own stories.